Hey y'all, Fozzie here from Great Motorcycle Rides. As you know, last weekend I ended up getting a flat tire and then changing that out. I happened to notice there was a nick in my final drive belt and, well, more than a nick, the beginning of a crack or a tear. So time to change that as well. These drive belts on the Harleys are pretty much indestructible. I mean, they're good for 100,000 miles and they're not really a maintenance item. It's not something you do just for the fun of it because they're pretty labor intensive. But anyhow, if you got a early Dyna and you need to change it, this is just a brief synopsis. I mean, you can find repair information all over YouTube, but this is just a quick rundown of what you basically got to go through. So essentially, it kind of goes like this. You jack the bike up, pull the saddlebags, pull the rear muffler if you need to, take the back tire off. There's a through bolt, a couple adjusters for the belt tension. You take that back tire off, it drops right on out of there. Then you're gonna take the seat off. There's a single nut holding the seat on, or single bolt, I should say, an Allen head bolt. Take the bolt out, rock the seat back, wiggle it up and out of there. Once the seat's off, it's time to disconnect the battery. Always a good idea to start there. Get the battery disconnected so you don't shock yourself or start a fire. Then you're gonna look around on the primary cover, right around there on the bottom, and you'll find the drain plug for the primary case oil. Pull that plug out, throw a pan underneath it, let it drain. While you're doing that, you can hop around to the other side of the bike and unbolt the starter. You don't need to remove it. There's just two bolts holding the dang thing on. They're Allen head screws. You take the bolts off, pry it back just a little bit, and you're golden. Don't wiggle it around or make it more of a project than it is. Then basically you come back around to the other side and you start out with the derby cover. There's three Torx head bolts holding the derby cover on. Then there's the inspection cover. There's four Torx head bolts holding the inspection cover on. Get those two covers off and you're ready to pull the outer primary. So you look around the outer primary there. It's just a bunch of Allen bolts going around the outside of the case that hold the outer primary on. Take the Allen bolts off. Pull the outer primary cover, you're good to go. Now you're down to the primary drive. So you got a chain, a tensioner, and the compensator on the front end of the thing, and the clutch assembly on the back. Compensator is pretty easy. Just put a rattle gun or a big breaker bar on it and loosen that big nut. It's like a 34 millimeter or something. It's big. But get that broke loose. The tensioner is really easy too. It looks complicated, but there's the one bolt that runs through the whole thing. It's a nut and a bolt. It's like, what do you call those? Like a nylock bolt. You just take that bolt off and let it hang. That whole thing will slide right off for you. The clutch basket, at first, there's a nut. Take that small nut off. Then you'll see there's a snap ring holding basically your clutch push rod deal in. Take the snap ring off, that little piece pops out, and then there's a nut behind it. The only thing that you need to be cautious about is that big nut back there is left hand thread. So it turns backwards. So tighten it, basically what would normally be tighten it, you tighten it to loosen it. So get that off. The whole chain assembly will slide off as a unit. Set it on the ground. Now you're ready to go after the inner primary. The thing I'd advise you on the inner primary, there's a bunch of little, they're like metal locking mechanisms that you have to kind of tap back with a screwdriver before your socket will fit on the bolts, at least the ones that are inside the chain case. So tap those back, take the bolts off. There's two bolts on the front side of the inner primary that you can see, before you take the cover off. Take all the bolts out, that inner primary comes off. Now you're down to brass tacks. All you got left to do is pull the shock on the left-hand side of the bike. You don't need to take the whole shock off. Just take the bottom bolt and you can flip it up out of the way. Get the belt off. Put the new belt on. Change the seal in the inner primary cover. New gasket where the inner primary goes on the front of the motor. And you're good to go. Start putting it all back together the exact same way you took it apart. It's really about not much harder than that. I'd plan on taking, 3 to 4 hours maybe, if you have all the right tools to get the job done. Put it back in the reverse order you took it apart, and you should be good to go. All right, man. Well, that's my adventure for the week, and now that the bike's fixed and running, of course, it's going to rain like a son of a bitch, but that's Washington. Our summer officially starts on July 5th. Anyhow, thanks for checking it out. Hope you guys have a great day. Ride safe. I'll see you all out there in the wind.